Hello, my fellow family foodie friends. It's Jackie, and today I'm sharing with you what we ate for dinner last week. These are 6 meals that we had. One of them my husband made, and I can't wait to share them with you. So we'll get into the first meal, which was my husband and myself, both of our favorite dinners last week, pumpkin pancakes. I make these about 2 times every season, and of course I make it with the meat. We have bacon tonight. Sometimes we do it with sausage. I have shared before how I bake my bacon in the oven. I will link to that recipe below, but I basically bake it at 350 on a single sheet, and it works really well. Drain the fat periodically. Perfect bacon. And I will also link below to the exact recipe that I follow for the pumpkin pancakes. It's pretty straightforward. I am just adding all my ingredients. I get them all measured out and ready to go. You do not want eggshell in your pancakes, so in case you're wondering, take it out. I have added my pumpkin, egg, oil, vinegar, and milk together, and I will get that nice and smooth before I add it to the dry ingredients. This just allows easier mixing and for clumps not to form when you add your solid to your dry if they're both mixed independently. That's a very common baking thing and probably something that you are familiar with if you bake or cook a lot. So when I make videos, I started to pre-measure my ingredients the more that I was making videos of my cooking, and I found that it ended up making the entire process much easier for me. So I actually really enjoy measuring everything before I make the recipe, and even if I'm not filming something, I have found myself doing this more now that I invested in some really cute bowls and make it easy for myself. Having everything measured out just makes the process start to finish go easier, and you don't get stuck at a spot thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot to get the nutmeg out, or whatever you might have forgotten. So here I have all my dry ingredients. Again, the exact recipe is linked below, and it is just a bunch of spices. The only difference that I did is all of the spices, with the exception of salt, I doubled because I really like pumpkin spice flavor to come through, and I wanted more of the spices than what they listed, so I doubled the cinnamon, the nutmeg. Any spice except for salt was doubled. So this is the part where you take out your day's frustrations on the poor old batter. You don't want to overmix it, but you definitely want to get the dry and the wet together and get rid of any clumps that you can. And whenever I have baking powder, this wasn't part of the recipe, but if I have baking powder, I like to let it sit for a little bit just to give it some time to activate. And you saw me pour a little extra milk in there. I love to have runny pancake batter, and I could tell that this was a thick recipe, and I just went ahead and added some milk until it was my consistency that I preferred. And that's something I just encourage you to do. If you like to bake or cook, allow yourself to take liberties. You'll live, you'll learn, and even if it doesn't come out perfectly, you'll kind of learn for the next time you do something. And don't be afraid to make it the way you want it, even if a recipe doesn't tell you to do it. That's how you're going to become more comfortable and confident in the kitchen. This is a pecan praline sauce that I love to make to go on the pumpkin pancakes. I don't make it every single time I make pumpkin pancakes because let's just say it's not good for you. It uses half and half brown sugar, butter, salt, vanilla, and of course the pecans. I do want to mention that I don't have half and half in my fridge, so anytime I have a recipe that calls for half and half, I just use half 2% milk and then half of my heavy cream, and it's pretty much the same thing. It's not exact, so don't yell at me if you have a different opinion, but it is pretty darn close. So I'm just following the directions. I was boiling that until it was fairly thick and coated the back of a spoon, and then I'm adding in my pecans. I didn't measure them. I just used whatever I had left in the bag, and you can see I didn't use chopped. I just used halves, but I actually preferred that because it made it pretty easy to spoon, less on my kids and more on my husband and myself because they just wanted more of the syrup and less of the nuts. But it was pretty good. I'm chopping it up a little bit, and I just had this simmering on the stove ready to go once I got the pancakes going because I knew I wouldn't want to watch the stove once the pancakes were cooking and ready to go. Cooking pancakes is always the last thing I do because you want to serve them fresh and hot, and here I have topped a stack of pancakes with the praline sauce and the bacon served on the side. This was the perfect fall dinner getting ready for Halloween, and both my husband and I, it was our favorite meal of the week, and I look forward to making them again soon. Our next meal of the week was chicken quesadillas and homemade salsas. I made Reed Drummond's restaurant salsa. Here are most of the ingredients, and you just really put it in the food processor: a whole onion, a whole jalapeno without the core, and the canned items, some spices, and I added some lime juice there at the end. I have the recipe linked below. I also have my video that I made on it with a few adjustments that I make listed below as well. And then now this is a corn salsa that I don't follow a recipe. I kind of do it a little different based on the ingredients I have on hand, but this is a can of corn, leftover onions, an entire jalapeno chopped up, some salt and lime juice, and it was so yummy and perfect. I love it. It's super chunky and very fresh to dip chips in. And now I'm making quesadillas. Everyone in my family likes their quesadilla a little differently, so I'm just topping it as it works for us. So again, I have leftover chicken, I have Fiesta blend cheese, and then I'm using my George Foreman. We use this George Foreman a lot for paninis or quesadillas, or even to make meat in the wintertime when our regular grill is out of commission and in hibernation. But one of the great things about quesadillas is you can make it according to how your family likes it. So I am just getting lots of quesadillas ready. I like to put the corn salsa actually on my tortilla and right in the middle of the quesadilla, but I'm the only one in my family that likes it that way. So again, make it to each person's preference. I had bought a number of mangoes this week, so I am just chopping one of them up in a bowl to have as a side. Mango, in my opinion, is a great fruit to go with Mexican meals, and it is very inexpensive right now. And here it is. So I have a quesadilla, chips, salsa, and mango. So this dinner is something that my husband made, and he does not like to be on camera, so I have very little to show you for this, but it's a very simple dinner. I will link below to the breadstick recipe he used, as well as the toppers of the breadsticks. But once he made the dough and let it rise and he baked them, this is what they look like. And he's coating them each with butter, and then he mixed a topping that was basically garlic salt and Parmesan cheese with a few other spices. That is also linked below, and he will add that directly on top of the buttered breadsticks. It's all warm, so it sticks nice, and these are very flavorful, very yummy. He has made thick spaghetti, and he is taking a mixture that he has just come up with olive oil, some pasta water, some garlic, some Italian seasonings, I believe, and red pepper flakes. It's very yummy. It's a pretty basic recipe, but it's nice, spicy, and my kids gobble this dinner up. So when we make hot dogs at home, we really like to have them grilled mainly, and if you're not from Michigan or a snowy, wintry place, you might not understand this, but we had a really nice day for grilling, and before I don't get the opportunity to grill outside until, maybe April, May, I wanted to grill, and hot dogs is a quick win for us, and I decided to grill hot dogs this week. And I was pretty darn excited about it. We love the Hebrew National. I always buy those if I'm grilling hot dogs, so that's what we did. I just chopped up onion because I must have onion when I make hot dogs, and before I plopped my hot dogs on the grill, I have my potato wedges in the oven. I just bought the frozen potato wedges from Great Value brand, less than $2, and we eat the entire stinking bag. And while those are in the oven, that is the most time critical thing because it takes the longest. I am buttering our buns. If you want to make your 87-cent Walmart buns taste like dollar Walmart buns, go ahead and butter them and toast them a little bit, and it just gives a little extra oomph. So my grill was all heated, and I just went out and stuck all of my hot dogs directly into the middle panel, and then I decided to turn off the heat on the 2 side burners because I didn't really need it going anymore. The entire thing was piping hot, and while those cooked, I came back out, rolled them to turn them, and then added the buns right on top. If you don't watch your buns, they will char at a moment's notice if you leave them too long, but we just put them on for a few minutes just to get a nice little crisp and a few grill marks on there, and it really does just add a bit to the hot dog. I love hot dog toppings, so I load mine up. I once had someone ask me at a company picnic if I was making my hot dog or if I was making a science experiment, so that just shows you that I love to load my buns. But you know what? That's my business, not yours, and I put everything on that's available. So today I had ground mustard, ketchup, onion, and relish, and then I had fry sauce on the side for the wedges. Super good, super easy. Speaking of super good, super easy, I am making a crock pot version of vegetable soup. I am adding in an entire carton of beef broth. I add in 1 diced onion, an entire bag of frozen Brussels sprouts, an entire bag of vegetable medley, an entire bag of frozen peas, and an entire bag of frozen corn. You get the idea. I make it very easy on myself. I also cut up, I think, 3 or 4 stalks of celery. You don't have to do that part if you're not feeling up for the challenge, but it does add a little to it, and I love celery, so I've never seen frozen celery, and I just don't think that would be super appetizing, and definitely not any less expensive because it don't get any more cheap than celery. So you just add everything in. I don't saute, I don't do anything special. I just get my ingredients ready, get them in there. And I found that I had like 1/4 of a carton of chicken broth left in my fridge, and just to use it up, I added that in there as well. I'm adding in an entire can of Hunt's Fire roasted tomatoes. I like to use Aldi brand more because it's less expensive, but I didn't have any, and I grabbed that at Walmart when I got my groceries. So no big deal. I also added in a can of water just to rinse that out. We're almost ready to set it and forget it, but we have to add in all of our spices. I have added in garlic salt, onion powder, I have oregano, parsley, and black pepper. So you can add all of these. Oh, don't forget the red pepper flake if you like spice. Me and all of my family members like spicy foods, including my 3-year-old, so adding in about a teaspoon of red pepper flakes for an entire pot of soup was no big deal for us. I also went and added in 2 cans of Campbell's tomato juice. I buy this in a 6-pack, which gets me through 3 batches of soup. I'm sorry you can't see. You're going to have to use your imagination here. Apparently my camera was not going to cooperate on this portion, but I did add in 2 cans. I'm not playing a switcheroo and squirting ketchup in there. It's tomato juice. Once it's all set, I use my favorite Instant Pot accessory, the lid. I love to use my Instant Pot as a crock pot, and this is the perfect accessory to allow yourself to do that. I will link one below and my Amazon affiliate link. Okay, this soup has been going now a little over 4 hours, and for the last hour-ish, I'm going to add in these pre-cooked cheese raviolis. I got these on the clearance rack at Aldi, and they were like 99 cents, I think, and I thought it would be a good addition to a soup, and here I am using it. Fingers crossed. I love to make my own crusty bread using my Dutch oven. However, I found some Aldi red stickered items where one of them was Italian loaves of bread for 99 cents. It's a take and bake, so it feels like a fresh loaf of bread and literally comes out exactly like my bread does. So for 99 cents, I didn't have to do anything but plop it in the oven. It was a win in my book. So I have 2 slices of bread. I added some cheese that we have a bunch of from Costco, and my shredded Parmesan Romano cheese from Sam's Club on top of the soup. And this is one delicious, fairly healthy meal. And since I had a lot of soup left over, but the noodles sucked a lot of broth, I ended up taking some freezer vegetable broth, that's what you saw there, and adding it into the leftovers of this soup so that I could freeze this and have another dinner for vegetable soup in my freezer. So I use this handy dandy bag holder. A friend of mine gifted this to me, but it is amazing. I can see why she gave it to me. And I have linked a 2-pack of these in my Amazon affiliate links below. And it is something that's very helpful. It gives you like 4 hands. It holds the bag for you. I've used this for marinating meats, for bagging leftovers, and so far I have had no hiccups, and I definitely recommend it. It doesn't suction to your counter like I thought it would, but it does stay in place. So I've been happy, and I think it's a pretty cool tool. And now I was able to add in all of my soup to a gallon-sized freezer bag. I label it with vegetable soup, the date that I made it. I lay it flat in my freezer, and then I will pull it out the day before I want to have it, add it into my slow cooker on low until it's warm, and voila, I have a dinner, and I can serve it with bread, and it will be just like I made it today. So I had just recently shared how I made Halloween pizza poppers, and we made them again on Halloween evening. I'm not going to go into great detail on this because I have an entire video that I just shared, and I'm going to link that here for you guys. It is essentially 2 crescent rolls mixed with your toppings of choice, or fillings at this point of choice. Most of ours have pepperoni and bacon and cheese, or just cheese and green olive, or all of the above. And so you make your crescent rolls, you roll them into a ball, and then you shove them into the Halloween shaped cavities. You pop them in the oven. Because you only have 6 of them, you have to do it a couple different times to get enough for your family, and I serve it with dip. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you at next week's What's for Dinner. Ciao down and ciao!